Hello and welcome back to another new project on this channel. We're going to be playing Raging Loop, which is, I think, just a visual novel that gives you choices occasionally, which most visual novels do now that I think about it. But we're going to see what it's like. I have been meaning to play this for a long time. It's a bit on the longer side, I believe, from what I've heard about it. But yeah, I don't really know too much about it. And we're starting in this beautiful menu because I don't know if it's actually going to start with an intro or something once I click start up. So we're going to see. I mean, that is kind of an intro. Made with Unity. That certainly looks like an intro. Although I don't know if I'll have to cut it out later because of copyright. We'll see. Okay, that was a nice intro. I'm probably gonna have to cut it out though, but we'll see. There is an options menu here, so we're of course gonna first go into that and turn up the text speed. Can I? I actually can't use the mouse. That's okay. Let's go like this. Hide buttons. That is a very unclear option without having played the game. Hide buttons. I think we'll turn hide buttons off. Please use only in unforeseen circumstances such as data deletion. Alright. I see what you're saying, game. But how do I get into... Okay, I can use my mouse actually, but not for this. Oh, no, I can. It's just very unresponsive and you have to click in certain places. But yeah, I think... yeah, that's fine. Sound effects. For a second I was thinking, what is SE? Character voices. Well, we'll mute them all. Because, well, they're gonna be speaking Japanese and I don't understand that. Well, at least. Alright, I guess we'll just start. Let's go. I bid you welcome to the world of this visual novel, Raging Loop. I am... nobody special, honestly. Simply consider me part of the interface. You may refer to me as Rikako. You are most likely playing this game for the first time, and I am here to explain a few things about it. This work is quite strange, you see. It's recommended that the uninitiated take the time to read everything here. Those uploading their gameplay should at least read the For Videos and Sharing section. Alright. If you read until the end, you'll find a sexy CG of me. Doesn't exist. We truly do live in a society. A harsh society. How sad. Now, where should I begin? Sure, start at the top. Raging Loop is a visual novel, yes. Much like with regular novels, the story is told through text and the enjoyment comes from reading it. If you are familiar with the party games Werewolf and Mafia, this visual novel bears a close resemblance to those, but keep in mind it is just that, a resemblance. Sincerest apologies to those who are hoping to play an eternal game of Werewolf with 20 super AI Rikakos. I weep and bleed for you, truly. How sad. Of course, this is not merely a novel. As you carry on, you will sometimes come upon choices which affect the story. It's quite amazing. The characters have lively visual depictions as well as voices, making it easy to immerse yourself in this world. To enjoy the voices to the fullest extent, or to simply avoid bothering your neighbors with the sound of anguished screams, please consider using headphones. This story is obscenely lengthy as well, so please take care not to be drawn in so thoroughly that you begin losing sleep. Also, you may be aware of this already, but Raging Loop is based entirely around fabricated murders and horrific scenarios. It's tailor-made for all you fans of suspense, thrillers, horror and mystery. Of course, this is a work of fiction, so it has nothing to do with real people, groups and incidents. It also includes fictional details about academic matters such as history, religion, mythology, science and medicine. Relying upon it during exams would get you 0 points. How sad. Lastly, we do not endorse replicating the crimes and cruelty depicted in this work. There is nothing to worry about as long as you differentiate between reality and fiction. This is, after all, fiction. I'm sure you are intelligent enough not to conflate things that happen in the game world with things that happen in real life. So enjoy Raging Loop to your heart's content. Okay, actually maybe I should read this first. Raging Loop is a visual novel, meaning that the story, events and conclusions are very important. Because of this, it would be very troubling if someone uploaded everything to the internet. I'd be sad. Very sad. Then again, we do understand those who want to enjoy the work with many other people. Because of this, we have set a guideline for how far we would like you to upload. This range covers the whole first main route and a little extra. Specifically, you can only upload until the choice at 4 infiltration queue entering the village. That's a lot, just so you know. I'm sure you'll have enough content for your uploads. I actually think it's a bit too much. Uploaders who read everything aloud might get a sore throat. Please don't overdo yourself, alright? Also, if you intend to upload, please use the reminder function. If you have it set on, when you reach the time to stop making a video, a strange sheep hops onto the screen and says end of the line. We would be grateful if you stop recording when you see him and try theorizing and arguing instead. This function is currently set to off. Sure, you know what? Why not? Very well, I've set it to on. If you wish to change it, please go to 0 introduction and come here again. Alright, we'll see about that. About special functions. Allow me to tell you about Raging Loop's special functions. Raging Loop's story branches out in ways so complicated it might be hard to follow. But there's no need to worry, for we have included a handy function called the scenario chart. You can access it anytime by simply opening the menu, giving you an overview of the scenario. And that's not all. Using the chart allows you to move to any chapter you've already been to, anytime, anywhere. Now there's no need to save at every choice you come across. You can simply go back and choose again, so there's nothing to worry about. The scenario chart function will be explained again when you have to use it, so don't worry if you don't quite understand it. Next up, keys. All branching in the story happens immediately when you make a choice. None of them start taking effect further down the line. However, some of the choices can only be unlocked when you have specific bits of information called keys. Many might say that searching for these keys is one of the major goals in this game. Don't worry if you don't understand how to search for them, it will be explained when you have one. What if I never find one? Additionally, keep in mind that all routes unlocked by acquisition of a key will be open even if you haven't saved after the fact. This also means that you can't load back to a state when you didn't have the key. This doesn't make any scene inaccessible, so it's not much of a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. For those commendable individuals who would like to play without any keys again, please refer to the data reset option. Use it wisely. Why standard functions after special functions? In addition to the special functions, Raging Loop also has the basic functions you'd expect any visual novel to have. You can hide the text, window, see the backlog, load, save, skip read text, skip to the next choice, and so on. Saving and loading work as they normally do. There's an autosave function as well, but it only saves each time you enter a new chapter, so don't rely on it too much. Please save manually whenever it feels appropriate, whether you've read to a part that calls for it or you're about to use the scenario chart. Alright, next are the options. The options allow you to change the volume, text display speed, as well as a few other things. However, explaining it all would make you all very sleepy, so please either read the other instructions or listen to a certain someone's extra explanations. I'm counting on you, certain someone. Aye. Alright. Off we go. Phew, that sure took a while. Thank you kindly for reading this far. Anyway, let's begin the story. Beyond the pockets of mist and hazes of blood at the end of the ever-repeating despair and grief, please come and witness the truth of the werewolf village with your own 2 eyes. "5/11. Is that the 5th of November or is it the 11th of May? I don't know. We'll see once we advance a day. I closed in on the side of the road and killed the engine. It was steeper than I'd thought. My bike was on the verge of giving out, so I pushed down and deployed the kickstand. Well, I'm lost. Maybe taking a ride down an unknown road with no sat-nav on me wasn't such a good idea. I just followed the road, so I'd figured I wouldn't get lost, but now I was in some deep shit. No, call it. This isn't a big deal. I sighed, took note of the fact that I'd gotten lost in my pocket journal, and then pulled out a map. Suddenly, a rush of memories flitted into my mind. Okay, well, I don't have 4 keys, so forget it. I somehow kept myself from remembering those things. I wonder if that's if I have 4 keys or if I have key number 4. We'll find out, maybe. After all, I'd gone on this trip to forget. Oh, maybe this is the key you get in chapter 4, which is why in the introduction when it said you should only upload to chapter 4, it said it includes the first main route. So probably when you get back to this point in a future route, you then have that key. Ugh. Enough of that. I gotta focus on what's happening right now. Life is simple, just like this road. It's dark and there aren't any guides, but that means all you gotta think about is whether you go forward or back. Going back wasn't an option in this case, so I just moved forward. Still, I wanted to know where I was at least, so I looked down at my map. It was all Greek to me. Last time I'd seen a sign, it was still light out, meaning that I'd gotten lost after the sun had set. Sure, it was my own fault for just guessing which intersections I'd been passing through, and that it had taken me 2 hours to conclude I was lost. Crazy to think that just 2 hours of aimless driving got me almost completely surrounded by mountains. They extended as far as the eye could see. If you flipped the scenery upside down and shook it, it's unlikely even a shred of civilization would tumble out. Besides the asphalt below, my sweet ride, and the lamppost above, the first one in a while, mind you, there was nothing man-made here. The pocket map I had wasn't detailed enough for me to figure out where I was. I guess I'll just keep driving. I'd go as far as I could. Worst comes to worst, I could just camp at the side of the road. Two hours later, I deeply regretted ever thinking that. Basically, camping wasn't an option. This mountain road had no side to camp on. A dump truck I'd passed barely even fit on it. I'd also had my first close encounters with wild forest animals. I'd already seen 2 boars and 3 deer in those 2 hours alone. One of the deer had run parallel to my bike while intently staring at me, and I had no idea what to think of that. It felt like it could smell my fear, and did it to just make it worse. How dare the thing do that to a human? We're the kings of this planet, damn it. I'd have to remember to eat some venison once I came back to civilization. Anyway, camping out here was a bad idea. I'd end up as either roadkill or animal food. And yet I didn't back out. Why? Because I'm a pretty warped sort of guy, and I won't pretend otherwise. That was actually the reason why my once comfortable relationship had gone awry, and why I'd gone on this stupid trip. Still, despite acknowledging that, I chose to keep moving forward. It wasn't like I'd find a place to stay if I went back. I was actually starting to think that this experience might make a good conversation piece sometime down the road. It was really getting late at this point. Where would these roads take me anyway? It would probably be disappointing. Soon enough the road became flat. I was out of the mountain pass. The forests remained abundant though, so I still didn't see much. Even so, the streetlights and signs were enough to make me feel I was again nearing civilization. Was streetlights the right expression for lights in a forest? I'd have to look that up. As the road grew less rugged, I realized just how exhausted I was. All this bike handling had left my hands really sore too. I really had to rest. Suddenly, I saw something unexpected. Powerful, colorful, artificial lights. A convenience store? Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was next to an intersection between the road I was on and another, even thinner road that could probably support only a single car. The sea of trees ended, giving room for the majestic child of our consumerist society. Yeah, that was an exaggeration. Apparently even a damn store was a big deal for someone who just stepped out of the wild. It was called Fresh Mark. I'd seen several of them a few times during the day. It was probably a local franchise. The building didn't look all that old. At least the parking lot looked a lot smoother compared to the roads. This was a pretty weird place to build something like that, though. Was I close to a settlement, or did they actually make a profit off of lost travelers? Of selling the lost travelers, maybe? I'd just ask that or something. A local shopkeeper was bound to know what was around these parts, not to mention I was thirsty. I was welcomed by a weird chime sound. It looked like a normal convenience store. There were goods on the shelves, a counter on the left, and... Whoa. The worker at the counter was so mean-looking it was scary. She was so imposing I wouldn't have doubted if someone told me she was in charge of some ladies' army corps. Hey. Was that supposed to be a greeting? It was so damn cold it actually gave me chills. Was this store shadier than it appeared? Was I about to be stupidly overcharged? Was this how this place made a profit? By taking advantage of lost people and basically beating them out of their money? Shh, that was scary. Clearly the Wonderland had only just begun. Woohoo! I sure was excited for the beating. I grew more nervous and less enthusiastic by the second. I braced myself, but she just looked down at a magazine in her hands. Oh, so she was just a slacker. Slightly disappointed, I walked around the store. It was about what you'd expect. There was a small shelf with energy drinks, followed by some stationeries, travel goods, sanitary stuff, etc. There were sweets that came with toys, a shelf of cup ramen and dried food, a fridge, a freezer. It all looked normal. It was late, so the daily dish and packed lunch section was completely empty. The only special thing about this place was the section full of unpacked vegetables you'd expect to see at a greengrocer's. Maybe all rural convenience stores were like this. I was slightly surprised by that, but there weren't any local fine foods or anything, so all in all, it was an unremarkable store. If you ignored the clerk, anyway. I took a drink and brought it to the register. Yep, she really was the highlight of this place. What kind of clerk smokes while dealing with a customer? You're actually buying? Yes, I was actually buying. She was the clerk and I'd be her god, the customer. 126 yen. She didn't even scan it. This exchange was at the mercy of the clerk. God is dead. Maybe I had to get mad at her? Can I ask something? Huh? I'm kinda lost right now. I quickly turned meek. Where can I find the nearest town? There. Don't you have a map or something? You don't. Man, this woman. I'm not sure I believe that. Convenience stores often get asked for directions. You must have a map handy. That a rule? Oh, we don't have one. Go back wherever you came from. I've been lost for a few hours now. I don't think I can keep it up for much longer. Sleep on the floor or something? She had to be joking. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd rather be on my way. Are you sure you can't help? Alright, just wait. The clerk put out her smoke in the ashtray and went to the staff-only area. She came back in no time. Found it. So she did have a map. Of course she did. Even more ill-tempered than usual, the clerk started giving an explanation. This here's this store. Go to the north of the crossroads. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When you come to a fork next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. Huh? On this road? What of it? There's nothing there. There's a settlement. It's just not on the map. Do you know any other places? There's Fujiyoshi. But it's 2 hours through a mountain pass. This one's about 30 minutes anyway. Fujiyoshi seemed to be a village. It didn't look too far away, but the road leading to it was a huge branching mess. It was clearly just a paved mountain pass. I'd had enough of those for one day. I'd probably just get lost again. I'll go to that one then. Thank you. Money? Excuse me? You didn't pay for the tea. Here's 500 yen. Huh. Why did you put the change in the collection box without asking me? Getting too many coins is a pain, ain't it? That was a hell of a line. I casually thanked her, grabbed the plastic bottle of tea, she didn't give me a bag by the way, and left the store. I drank the tea in the parking lot and looked up at the moon, obscured by clouds but still bright enough to outshine the light of the convenience store. The clerk put me in a bad mood though, so I didn't enjoy the sight. I threw the bottle into a nearby trash can and aggressively drove away. Following the directions, I crossed the overpass and arrived at the first fork in the road. The byway she told me about was really narrow. I probably wouldn't have noticed it were it not for the tall boulders standing there like a roadside shrine for some traveller deity. Turning carefully, I got on the road. A minute later, I found myself in an even worse wilderness than before. A veil of dead leaves covered the ground. Tall grass sided the path, and the sky above was blocked by overgrown shrubs, making it feel like I was passing a wooden tunnel. The road itself was a huge red flag. It was a wonder why I didn't just turn around. The exchange from before might have pissed me off more than I thought. Still, I really didn't expect the road to just end. It happened about 15 minutes in. The view ahead suddenly turned strangely dark, and a split second later the bike tipped forward. I reflexively hit the brakes, but it was too late. I started going down a cliff. My bike tilted downwards, and its suspension was put to the greatest test yet, as we basically tumbled down to the bottom. The headlights suddenly shone on some dirt and grass. I knew then that I'd be flung out of my seat. Stifling a scream, I tried to work some steering and brake magic to slow down without collapsing. But that was too big a task for a simple road bike. At the bottom of the cliff, it jumped higher than ever before. The suspension couldn't handle the impact, and I was launched into the air. A moment later, I heard a crash and felt an impact, after which came an unpleasant pain. Damn it. An accident where I was flung out like that was a first for me. The launch was really something too. I did a 360 in the air and fell on my back. My breathing stopped for a moment, and the pain was so bad I thought all my bones shattered. My face and limbs seemed pretty fine at least, though I wasn't sure if that counted as a silver lining. There was grass under my hands. I felt it even through the gloves. That and the smell of green made it pretty clear what I landed on. I pushed down and my hands sunk. This grass growth was pretty hefty. It was probably the reason why I came out relatively okay. Sure, my joints creaked when I stood up, but aside from that, it was fine. It was really dark, so I couldn't really confirm it, but I was pretty sure I wasn't even bleeding. My bike, however, wasn't nearly as lucky. Oh boy. It was lying on its side a short distance ahead. The engine was still on. The back wheel kept on turning, making an unpleasant, frictive noise. Yep, I was busted. I walked up, killed the engine, and took the key. With the headlights off, I was surrounded by absolute darkness, so I just stood and waited until my eyes adjusted. I still couldn't see very clearly, but it looked like this actually wasn't a cliff. I was still on a road, just wasn't paved beyond this point. Obviously, a road bike stood no chance against an unpaved road. That woman actually tried to kill me. Zigzagging through the trees, I followed the narrow footpath deeper into the forest. I tried getting my bike up and running again, but instantly gave up. It was partially stuck in mud, so there was the risk of it slipping and getting me into another accident. Maybe I had to turn around? The moment I considered that, I thought I saw a faint light ahead. If that woman wasn't lying, this road led to a settlement. Was I close? I reached into my jacket's pocket, took out my phone and opened it up. As you'd expect, I was out of range. I ran the light app and shone a light to see better. Though weak, it was better than nothing. At the very least, it helped me watch where I was going. I had no idea how long I'd been walking for. But sure enough, I could see a light beyond the shrubs. It was weaker than expected. Flashlight, perhaps? I could hear water, too. I might have been near a river. Hello? I raised my voice. Hello? Anyone there? Still declaring my presence, I walked forward. It was late at night. Were I to bump into someone here, the scare would probably take away a few years of our lives. That was why I figured it was best for both of us to let the other know we were here before that happened. However, there was no response. Could they not hear me over the rapids? Hello? I shone my light ahead and realized I'd made it to an opening. Sure enough, there was a river, or a stream rather. I could see slightly more than I had while surrounded by trees. Straining my eyes, I saw a rocky river beach in the shallows. The light I'd seen was on the other side. From what I could tell, it was either a lantern or a flashlight, and it was close to the ground. I didn't see any people though. No one responded to my shouting either. I wasn't excited about it, but I decided to step into the water. The cold water quickly soaked my shoes and socks. I could have taken them off, but I'd figured that crossing a river barefooted at midnight was a bad idea. But man, was it cold. I put my phone back into my jacket. I needed both my hands free in case I fell. Not stopping or backing down, I walked toward the light. It suddenly became deeper. The water reached my knees now. That was too close for comfort. Feeling the bottom with my toes and balancing myself, I somehow avoided losing my footing. The flow was fiercer than I'd expected. If I slipped and fell, I'd probably be washed away. It suddenly hit me I was doing something really weird, but it was too late to back down. Putting my hands on the boulders and carefully checking what I was stepping on, I gradually made it to the other side. Then, with an unpleasant wet sound in my every step, I walked up to the light. I could already see it clearly. Yep, it was a flashlight, lying on the ground for some reason. There wasn't much space here. It was a narrow riverbank with a cliff right beside it. As you'd expect, I didn't see or sense anyone nearby. What the hell? Though the flashlight was working fine, the strength of the light told me the battery was pretty full. That meant that someone was actually using this tonight, or rather until just a few moments ago. That was the most logical conclusion. It obviously wasn't left here yesterday afternoon or evening, and yet the user was nowhere in sight, and I was near a river. Did something bad happen? Did the flashlight's owner step into the stream and get swept away? That was the most likely and worst possible scenario. However, the flashlight was left there practically buried in the pebbles. It didn't seem like someone placed it there to light things up. It was the dead of night. There was no way you wouldn't notice dropping your flashlight when it was so dark. Right, the fact that a light source was left in a place like this was strange by itself. With that considered, what was going on here? What if someone heard my stupid shouting and decided to lure me in with a light so they could ambush me? Where would they attack from? Above? Hello? I heard a voice the moment I looked up. The rock cliff was actually made up of several boulders. There was a face peeking from behind one of them. Hello? Wow, a person! You surprised me. That was my line. Sorry, could you pick that up for me? The voice was feminine. I finally realized what was going on. So, you dropped this? I picked up the flashlight and pointed it at the source of the voice. High-pitched voice, slender hands shielding the light. Sure enough, it was a young woman. So bright. Oh, sorry. This is me, by the way. That's creepy. Don't shine it up from below like that. I'm actually a bit lost. I think a bit is something of an understatement, then. Yeah, thought as much. Is this a settlement? That's a difficult question. Can you help me out, at least? Help? I just need a place to hide from the rain and wild animals, that's all. Standing on a boulder, the young woman made a pensive face. Wanna come to my place? And that was the conclusion she'd arrived at. Her face told me she was 100% serious. Place. My place. But that she surely meant a house. A settlement. Can I? I know I asked for help and all that, but I'm actually desperate enough to not hold myself back. Huh? As a man? Yes, I mean no. As a living being. I spent the last few hours aimlessly driving around only to fall off my bike. I'm dead tired and at my wit's end here. Oh dear. And what kind of living being would I be if I just abandoned you? And so, I was saved. Oh, the beauty of living beings looking out for each other. Anyway, your hand, please. You can't climb up on your own, yeah? True. Honestly, I didn't even realize I'd have to. Meeting another person filled me with relief, which was followed by a sudden wave of fatigue. It wasn't crippling, though. She extended her left hand, so I grabbed it with my own left. Her slender fingers were stronger than expected. The girl's name was Chiemi Serizawa. I asked if she was related to the Shinsengumi guy, but she said that her family just adopted the name at some point in the Meiji period. He was a 21-year-old who went to a college far away from here. This was her hometown, and she was spending her post-exams vacation here. We chatted about stuff like that once she'd led me out of the rocky ravine. There was actually a proper path, so the rock climbing was pretty pointless, but I was too focused on my footing to comment. She told me about herself as soon as we reached solid ground. And what about you? I'm Haruaki Fusaishi, a graduate student in a Tokyo college. Ah, so you're a bit older. I'm 24, so 3 years. I'd say we're in the same age range. Yeah, so don't you dare be formal with me. Alright, you can be casual with me too. Can I, really? I like it when girls are friendly with me. Well, I know what you mean. I don't like stiff socializing either. Sure, I'll treat you like a friend. Wouldn't have it any other way. That aside, are we there yet? Not quite. We're like 5 minutes away. Hang in there, Chief. What a lively girl. You could tell she was used to people. Also, watch your step and focus on just the light. Any reason? There are loads of pebbles here. It's dangerous. The moment she said that, I stumbled on a rock too big to be called a pebble. And it's pretty dark tonight. I couldn't even see the moon anymore. Nodding in agreement, I focused on following the light in her hand. I gotta change. Wait here a sec. And so I did just that. Given this was a mountain settlement, I'd expected some old wooden house, but she actually lived in an apartment block. It was too dark to get a good look at it. All I could see were the cheap-looking walls, like you'd expect from some old boarding house for students. Also, she lived on the second floor in room 202. I'd heard some raindrops as we were climbing the rusty stairs, but now it was really pouring. Between that, the darkness, and the large tree right next to the building, it was nearly impossible to see what was going on outside. It felt like I was all alone in a world of nothing but the walls, the door, and the fluorescent lamp above my head. It made me feel somewhat helpless. I distracted myself from that by imagining her changing. Dude. Eventually, the door opened up. Sorry about the wait. Come in. All smiles, she showed herself, now wearing sports clothes. This was kinda exciting. Look at this place. It's completely empty, huh? Yep. But get a load of what's in the fridge. Magnificent. Let's drink. Hell yeah. Yeah, her place really was empty. It was just a small room with a low table in the middle, a fridge near the door, and a large duffel bag deeper in. There were two old-looking bookshelves too, but they were completely empty. I wasn't bothered one bit though. Any girl's room was a wonderland to me. Jimmy, you shouldn't have let this guy in. Anyway, you went through some big trouble, so I'll drink to you. And I'll drink to you for helping me out. You're a real saint. We opened up our cans, knocked them together, and downed them. Hey, it was actually good. The pleasant bitterness and the refreshing carbonation made for a good combo. So good. I live for this. Come on, you're too young to say that. Yeah, you're right. I'm not despairing for my future or love life yet. You hear that? That's the sound of job hunting. It's a coming here fast. No, don't say that. You'll ruin my beer. She laughed and took a huge sip. It was pretty clear she could hold her drink. That aside, something really bothered me. This might be a bit late for this, but can I ask you something? Go ahead. Her cheeks were already red. Maybe she didn't handle her liquor as well as I thought. She had a well-featured face, and I didn't think it was wrong to consider her beautiful. Sure, her clothes weren't the least bit sexy, but I could tell she had some makeup on. To you, I'm just some stranger who says he's lost, right? Yep. And you yourself are a young woman who invited that stranger into an enclosed space and started getting drunk. Oh. Don't you think this is dangerous? She kept gulping the drink even as she formulated a response. The very fact that I could just watch her do that made this a pretty risky situation, and yet... I wouldn't say so. But time for a GME Series Hour quiz. Yay! Here's the question. My virginity is threatened, yet I don't feel like I'm in danger. Why? What a fun girl. This only made me like her more, increasing the danger even further. Am I allowed to ask questions? Sure. Can I just assume that it's not because I look like a good guy? Well, I don't think you look like a bad guy, but no, I doubt you're good either. You look experienced with women, for one. That unintentional compliment showed that she actually did see me as a potential danger. There are two types of answers to this. Either you expect nothing bad to happen, but wouldn't be bothered if it did, or you actually want something to happen. I can think of several situations for the former. For example, you're actually on the edge and don't care about what happens. Or maybe you're just confident you can defend yourself. Maybe you know martial arts and can easily kick my ass. Oh, so logical. Let me guess, you're a scientist. Well, I guess you could say that. Now for the latter, if you intend for something to happen, then... I'm a thirsty perv or something? Wow, talk about not mincing words. I blame the booze. So, what else is there? Indeed, what other reason could a woman have to bring a stranger to her home? It would surely be something non-standard, like murdering him. You want to use me somehow? For example, setting me up as an alibi. I could be useful to you by attesting that you were here. Oh, that's so shrewd. Or maybe you're a serial killer who brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me. There we go. Oh, so I'm some evil mountain witch now. Sounds great. I'll kill you real good. Splosh splosh. What kind of sound effect was that? By the way, you forgot another case. I did? Yep, I could just be a really good person who simply wants to help you. Nah. Was it time for me to be ashamed of my filthy mind? I think that time was about 15 minutes ago. But wait, is that really important enough to risk being assaulted? Oh, so you're thinking of assaulting me? I'm just talking in general. You know, the cliche scenario. She stopped talking and turned red. It was so cute I thought she was actually doing it on purpose. Man, was she drunk. And we were just on our second cans. Then how about this? If I don't let you stay here, something even worse would happen and I feel real bad. Care to elaborate? There's some scary white animals around here. You might have gotten torn up and eaten. That would have left a bad taste in my mouth, so I figured I'd just let you stay instead. I see, so you're balancing risk and goodwill. Didn't expect that. Really now? You got any idea how much of a bad guy you seem now? Huh? I do? I mean, you assumed I was a thirsty perv, a serial killer, or needed an alibi before considering I was just a nice person. You're the one who brought up the perv thing. Details. So, what's the right answer? Huh? We're not just messing around. Get it right and I'm giving you a nice present. Get it wrong and you're dead. Splosh splosh. Seriously? 20? Okay. Honestly? Well, I'm assuming the actual correct answer is hidden behind a key. I kind of want to go with that. I mean, you're desperate is kind of just an all-round answer for a lot of different things. Because we don't know for what reason she would be desperate. Honestly, I kind of like this. Ding, ding, ding. You're right. I knew it. Seriously, what did you think I was doing there so late? Weren't you suspicious? Good point. Assuming I was up to something really bad, your testimony would help hide it. How convenient. Whoa. Or maybe the settlement you stumbled into is actually the haunt of a murderous psycho. Happens all the time in B-grade horror flicks. And by saying you'd kill me if I got the answer wrong, you just spoiled the whole plot. It was you all along. Oh no, I'm such an airhead. How embarrassing. Now I gotta kill you to make sure no one finds out. Winners get death too? Huh? Want me as a prize instead? Nope. Oh no. Anyway, this girl was actually pretty sharp. She really had a way with words and knew how to capitalize on it. It almost felt like she was implying that I couldn't let my guard down just because I was a guy. I admitted she was pretty damn attractive, but I felt like I'd have more fun just talking about lewd stuff than acting on it. Okay, it's the 12th of May. The last thing I remembered was a little "when was the last time you pissed yourself while sleeping" talk. I had to tell her about the time I got so drunk I wet my pants in the middle of the boarding house. She'd laughed so hard she started frothing at the mouth and passed out. I woke up with a splitting headache. Oh man. Morning already? Light poured in through the frosted window. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. 7 in the morning. I'd gone to sleep somewhere between 2 and 3, which probably wasn't quite enough sleep. At least I didn't wake up to some horror movie scene. The building wasn't in ruins and the girl wasn't actually a skeleton. Though in a way this might have been worse. She was spread out on the floor on the other side of the mini table. Her breathing was mixed with some weird gurgling sounds. I hesitantly looked at her. The saint that had saved me from the hell I was in last night had puked in the middle of her sleep. What was I supposed to do here? As a guest, I couldn't really be too harsh on her. Jimmy. He wasn't waking up. Well, I'd just do what little I could. There, that should be good enough. I'd used tons of toilet paper to clean up her mess and flush it down the toilet. It left a stain on the floor, but it was dirty to begin with, so whatever. I'd even wet a towel and cleaned her face. Even then, she showed no signs of waking up. Some of it was on her hair and clothes, but I figured it was best if she took care of that herself. Jimmy. Morning? The first hint of consciousness so far today. I'll be leaving for a bit. Without waiting for a response, I walked to the entrance. You'd have to take a shower and change and all that, so I'd kill time outside. I stepped into my still damp shoes with my bare feet, my socks were in the washing machine with the towel she gave me to wipe my legs, and reached for the doorknob. I opened the door and was greeted by a gust of wind. The raindrops gathered on the leaves of the tree next to the building flew right into my face, making me grimace. The rain from last night was already over. The sky was pretty clear, but despite that I noticed the visibility of my surroundings was poor. The building was surrounded by leaves. The old structure was basically buried in a forest of trees about as tall as itself. There were branches poking into the exposed hallway. It almost felt like they'd reach out and grab me if I wasn't careful. I kind of felt like I was in an overgrown ruin. I turned around and saw the room and Chiemi just as I left them. Yep, it was all real. I closed the door. There were other rooms in this building, which made me wonder if they were occupied. Hell, I wondered the same thing about the area in general. I pushed the branches aside to see if there were other buildings nearby. Suddenly, something entered my vision. It didn't feel right. Something that shouldn't have been there. The leaves I moved revealed a woman clad in curious clothing. The moment I recognized her as such, she opened her closed eyes. Did our eyes meet? Another strong wind. I shielded my face from the spray of raindrops. When I looked outside again, the woman was nowhere in sight. Was that an illusion? If not, then what? What kind of place was this? It could have been a real Hicksville, a marginal village, a bunch of actual ruins, or an illegal settlement. I had some theories, but I set them aside for now. It seemed like a place worth exploring regardless. I went down the stairs and found no sign of the woman, or anyone else for that matter. A short distance away from the building, I turned around and sure enough it was pretty much covered in trees. I went to the place where I saw the woman. There were footprints in the grass here. Maybe I'd find her if I followed them. They led me to an open area. It was unused, but it looked like someone was trying to do something with it. Was it supposed to be a construction site? Even if it was clearly abandoned. There were large rocks and lots of sediment near a prefab. From what I could tell, there had been a giant landslide which forced them to stop construction. The fact that plant growth was still minimal meant that it had happened fairly recently. The footprints seemed to be going down the hill next to the site. Following them, I finally saw something that could be called civilization. There was a set of paddy fields with houses nearby. So this actually was a settlement. What a relief. I decided to keep following the footprints and approach the settlement. I came across another unpaved path that was clearly used by people and cars. It was lined with weeds and bushes reaching up to my waist. It was home to caterpillars and grasshoppers, among other things. The spiders were no exception. There was no shortage of insects there, so it was a good place for a net. I wasn't particularly scared of spiders, but I didn't like them either. At least they were just harmless orb weavers. Regardless, I avoided these bushes just in case and followed the path like the good city boy I was. There was a large boulder surrounded by grass. It was strangely tall, making it look like it was put there by people. On its dewy surface there was a grey tree frog, ready to go after the many insects scattered about. I walked a bit further and came across a house with a small field nearby. The field's location made it safe to assume it belonged to the inhabitants. If there were inhabitants anyway. I couldn't see anyone, and just like always, there was grass everywhere. There was another boulder standing next to the house. This one was obviously placed there by human hand. What was the point? Was it a monument or something? The footprints continued into the field. The wet mud on the field was full of small, young, but healthy-looking rice plants. If you ignored the standing boulders in the area, the place looked like a normal farming village. I was both relieved and worried at the same time. From what I saw, there weren't any other buildings besides the ones in the settlement. Everything beyond was just mountains, meaning that this place was completely isolated. and I was a complete outsider. There was no way things would go well if I ran into a random local. I blatantly crouched to hide myself a bit. It was probably best for me to go back. Chiemi might have been looking for me. Suddenly, I heard a sound. I looked for its source and found a speaker on a wooden utility pole in the middle of a small plaza. A morning broadcast? I'd never heard this tune before. It was cheerful at first, but had some parts that seemed really dark. I found it unsettling. Perplexed, I stopped walking, and what happened next made me hide myself. There was a person in the area densely surrounded by houses, but they weren't normal. What was with that appearance? What was that on her face? Though I was a fair distance away, I could see an old woman with some sort of cloth over her face shakily walk out from between the buildings. Oddly enough, there were boulders even there. But even weirder was the fact she walked up to one of them, lightly joined her hands and bowed her head before it, her face still hidden. Then, all was silence. It actually looked like she was revering it. To me, it looked like she was praying to it. This was bad. Really bad. I'd wandered into a settlement with a unique culture, to put it lightly. Forget causing trouble. An outsider like me could get killed here. I just turned around and ran for it. I dashed up the hill, past the house, through the construction site, until I arrived back at the apartment building. Chiemi looked like a relatively reasonable person. Maybe she could tell me what was up. It just hit me that the way she described this place was somewhat weird. She basically said it wasn't normal. Or maybe you're a serial killer who brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me. Oh, so I'm some evil mountain witch now? Sounds great. I'll kill you real good. Splosh, splosh. No way. What if she was actually the bait they used to lure outsiders here? Eventually, the broadcast stopped. Chiemi still hadn't come out of her room. She didn't respond when I knocked or called out to her. I didn't have to worry about this, right? That just made my inexplicable unease grow worse. What if this was a trap? Was I in a dangerous situation? I had to talk to her. If she was a normal person, anyway. Maybe my best option was to run away right now? I wouldn't know where to run. I couldn't remember the path we'd taken here, though I was pretty sure we went uphill, so maybe I had to go down? If I avoided the settlement and went back to the mountain stream, I could escape by following the wild roads. That was my best option, even with the difficulties considered. Thankfully, I'd taken my bag with me. I took out a 5,000 yen note and put it in Chiemi's newspaper box. It was payment for last night's beer. The moment I turned around to take my leave, the door to the room next to the staircase opened slightly with a creak. I saw an eye glaring at me through the gap. Ah! Her high-pitched scream pierced my eardrums. I screamed too, scared shitless, and ran for it. Suddenly, I stepped onto the wet hallway floor at a bad angle. I fell. Thud, thud, thud. Haru-chan, what's wrong? Whoa, who's this old guy? Who are you? And are you alright? The reasonable-sounding voice prompted me to shake off the pain and raise my head. Oh, it's men. There were two boys in formal-looking school uniforms. Are you alright? He repeated the question. Yeah, I was just startled. You friends with Chie? Chie? Oh, you mean Chiemi. Are you a friend of hers from college? She didn't tell us anyone was visiting. Oh, I just got into some trouble and she helped me out. There's nothing shady about me, though I know that's hard to believe. It really is, old man. Man, how do I handle this? Anyway, my name's Haruaki Fusaishi. I'm Yasunaga Oribe. This is Chikamoshi Kamoshida. Just Mochi is fine. Good to know. If I called him that, maybe he'd stop calling me old man. I was only 24. This is Haru. What are you doing? We don't know him. Apparently this Haru was the person who looked at me through the gap in the door and screamed. He seems fine. Come out. A moment later, she slammed the door shut and after a few more moments of hesitation, opened it again. Whoa. She looked like a student too, except her fashion sense was exceptionally flashy. Who are you? Name's Haruaki Fusaishi. I crashed my motorbike nearby and Chiyomi Serizawa helped me out. Wait, you saying you spent the night in her room? Yeah, She cut my words short with her ear-piercing shriek. So that's why it was so noisy. What were you thinking? You're not supposed to enter an unmarried girl's room. It's indecent. Yeah, I was hesitant too, but Chiyomi was kind enough to let me in. Why are you acting like you've known her your whole life? Wait, she's not getting out. Don't tell me you... There's a 5,000 yen note in the door. Don't tell me you... No. She just gave me lots of booze. I'm paying back for that. Chia's body is worth way more than that. How dissolute. The hell were these kids saying? Hey, can you help me out? You drank with a girl you just met, and she's not coming out. Crap, I had no allies here. What's going on? And so the subject of the conversation joined in. Oh, Chiyomi, can you tell them what happened last night? Something was off about her aura. What happened to the lively girl she'd been yesterday? Shit, did you... And this is embarrassing. Whoa. Wait, hold on, stop. I can't be a bride anymore. Man, what a mess. Though Chiyomi's face was all pale, she was actually grinning. She obviously had a bad hangover, but that didn't stop her from messing around. After calming everyone down, Chiyomi explained what actually happened. How we met in the middle of the night. How she let me stay out of goodwill. How we drank ourselves silly, and how nothing happened between us. Man, it's been so long since I drank that much. Guess I wasn't prepared for it and puked it out. Sorry you had to see that, Haruaki. I don't mind it. That Haru girl still looked at me funny. Absurd. Anyway, sorry. I was so tired yesterday that I couldn't refuse her kindness. Well, this is Chie we're talking about. She does whatever she wants. He's got good reasons for being here too, so maybe the elders will understand. Where did you find him anyway? Well... Next to the river further down. My words made everyone change their expressions. That's a bit... A big deal. 2 people over just 2 days. Did I say something bad? He was gonna get out sooner or later. We made quite a scene, so I wouldn't be surprised if everyone in Yasumizu already knows. Hey, what did you mean by 2 people over just 2 days? Don't touch me, you're filthy. I wasn't trying to touch her, and I wasn't filthy. Sure, I hadn't had a bath in over a day, but still. Hey, you, why is it a big deal? Tai is gonna go, eee. Well, that sure sounded bad. Can you tell me more? It's a bit complicated, but now just keep in mind that this is the countryside. Things are different here than in the city. And with those different things, we'll just end the first episode here. I'm quite enjoying the start of this. We'll see where it goes. We'll see when people start getting murdered, as I expect them to. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time. Till then, bye bye.